Hi, everybody. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about American architecture. Do you even know the difference between colonial, transitional, Victorian, or craftsman? Well, you will now. So let's talk about what the defining characteristics are that determine style. There's a lot of components that go into it that determine the aesthetic style of a house, including the structural components, building materials, shapes, and features. Follow along as I compare some of the most popular styles in our area, so when you're ready to buy a new home, you'll be able to articulate exactly what you want. First, we're going to go over a couple of terms. A mansard roof is a four-sided double-sloped roof where the lower slope is steeper than the upper slope that extends kind of down the side of the house. A turret is the small tower, usually at the corner of a building, creating that castle-like appearance. I'm sure you've seen those on those Victorian-style houses. A bay window is a window that protrudes outwards from the house. It can have windows on either side. A lot of times there'll be a bench seat in that, very nice for reading. A portico is a structure consisting of a roof supported by columns at regular intervals, typically attached as a porch, or sometimes you'll see them along a driveway for kind of like you park under it to have a little shelter by the entrance. A casement is a vertical window that's hinged on the side that opens either in or out. A lot of times you'll see those with the little cranks. Double hung windows are the pretty standard windows that pretty much everybody has on their house nowadays. Those are the windows that are two vertical sliding sashes, one on top of the other. A gable is the triangular end of a wall formed by the slope of the roof, that little pointy part. Whether that's facing forward or sideways, a lot of times determines the character or style of a house. The facade, as I'm sure everybody knows, is the main exterior face of the building. Fenestration, which is a super fun word to say, is the arrangement, proportioning, and design of windows and doors in a building. It's kind of that feature that you don't really notice or know what was called that makes the facade pleasing, for lack of a better word. A dormer is a roofed structure, often containing a window that projects vertically beyond the plane of the pitched roof. A lot of times, I think it kind of looks like, the eyes of a house when they're right up on the top like that. And a transom is a panel or a window which can be commonly located above a window or a door. So you'll see those a lot of times in older homes. It is important to note that nowadays a home is rarely just one type. Renovations and new builds tend to integrate a lot more than one style in homes, but to keep it simple, I'm going to describe the most important characteristics that define each style. So first, my personal favorite is Craftsman. The defining characteristics of a Craftsman are a deep, welcoming front porch, a subdued roof pitch, so not too steep, exposed rafters and beams, those are those boards that you see extending just beyond the roof. And then the interior usually highlights craftsmanship, things like tray ceilings, built-in features like shelving and cabinets in like living rooms and things, fireplaces and mantles. There's lots of different variations of the Craftsman, especially nowadays. If you see a bungalow, that's typically a one-story home, smaller, cozier. Transitional, it blends the traits of a Craftsman with Victorian. Eclectic Craftsman would have multi-styles included in it. The Oriental Craftsman has very steep roof pitch, and Colonial has more emphasis on symmetry, front porches, and proportioned columns and facade. Then, of course, there's the farm/country home, which has super wide porches across the entire front, and a lot of times wrap around as well. Next is Victorian. I'm sure we've all seen these beautiful homes, very reminiscent of European castles and things. The characteristics of Victorian is that the roof has a very steep pitch and irregular shape. Textured shingles are often used. It's not on this picture, but you'll often see like fish scale shingles. The porch is either partial or full width, but it's typically asymmetrical. You can see in the photo here how it has kind of the turret style porch on the left there. And again, it has asymmetrical facade, unlike Colonial. There are lots of variations with Victorian homes. There's the Second Empire that you can see has the mansard roof, the Gothic Revival that has more of like a church look to it, with a little Gothic touch. The Italianate that kind of blends the Second Empire, but it has more corbels under the eaves and large columns, very dramatic moldings. And then there's the folk Victorian that I've seen a lot of in Franklin, Tennessee. It's basically the Queen Anne, which is very elaborate detail, but in a miniaturized version, kind of like a bungalow. Cape Cod, super popular on the East Coast, but it's pretty much everywhere, has steeply pitched roofs with double hung windows, usually a very plain exterior with very little or to no ornamentation. The most typical Cape Cod has a lot of symmetry. Standard is two windows per side of the front door. Variations include the 3/4, which is two on one side and one on the other, half, which is just one window on either side of the door, and a quarter, which is only one window on the side of the door, which makes it a very small house. But with the prevalence of tiny houses nowadays, they are a lot of them could be in that Cape Cod style. The style itself has actually evolved to include the dormers up on top like that. It hasn't always been that way. And again, there's more ornate entrances with recessed doors, porticos, and sometimes even columns or added front porch. Colonial, which is a very typically American style, even kind of going into the like plantation style. There's a lot of Greek and Roman influence on these homes. They're typically symmetrical with 2 to 3 stories, so very grand homes with large rectangular windows, wide balconies, and typically a staircase right as you enter in. So a grand foyer with a large staircase. And it typically has a gabled roof with shallow eaves, creating almost a nearly flat facade. Next, we have the Tudor and Transitional Tudor. If you're familiar with Bavarian architecture, that Tudor may look very familiar to as well. While it does actually come from Europe and England, there's a lot of influence of the Bavarian as well. It's traditionally brown and white, flatboard decorative half timbering, which is that exposed wood framework with the spaces between filled with masonry or stucco. Also has steeply pitched gable roofs, playfully elaborate masonry chimneys, and embellished doorways. Updates to that Tudor are called transitional Tudor. They kind of stay with that, the half timbering, the decorative features, and the style, but they update the color palette and or elemental or decorative windows. The ranch, currently the most popular home in the U.S. Traditional ranch-style homes are single-story houses, commonly built with an open concept layout and devoted patio space. Ranch home designs often feature long, low-pitched roof lines and large windows along the front of the house. Their consistent popularity can be attributed to their practicality, ability to age with the homeowner, and their wide design variability and cost. They are typically the most affordable. And you can see from these photos, all of these are considered ranch homes, but they are very different in style. Similar to a ranch is the mid-century modern. Mid-century modern have flat panes, large windows, sliding glass doors, and large expansive panes of glass to allow light into the room from multiple angles. A lot of times you'll see changes in elevation and integration with nature, open floor plans with good organic flow. The mid-century modern really focuses on bringing the outdoors in, so lots of natural light and open spaces. The contemporary modern kind of builds on that mid-century modern by kind of just expanding the floor plan in general. It does have asymmetric features, geometric shapes, and lots of use of natural materials. The design itself is typically driven by simplicity and function, and the interiors of contemporary houses feature flexible, open spaces, and again, plenty of light. So that should give you a basic idea of the most prevalent styles of homes and architecture in our area. I hope you found this helpful, and when you're ready to find your favorite, please give me a call. Thanks.